Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. Today, I want to do a speculation video about what we might have to do to beat the Balrog in Chapter 4 of the Mines of Moria raid. And you might be saying, Swag, they haven't even released Chapter 3 yet. And that is true. But I think now that we know the details of Chapter 3, what we can do is actually take a look at the raid reward, which is Gandalf. Take a look at his kit and see where his skills fit for what chapters we know so far. And then look, okay, does something here not add up? Does something not make 100% sense? And extrapolate from that to what we might expect for Chapter 4. I just think it's a fun little speculation exercise. No guarantee this is going to be correct. I don't think this is going to be accurate at all, but I think it will be a good way to, think about what Chapter 4 could be. And I think that's kind of fun. So let's just go through Gandalf's skills, skill by skill, and then we'll kind of figure out what chapter of the raids I think they're going to be best used for. Let's start with that. So his leadership ability, grant 20% max health to all Fellowship squad members. This character grants Astari's gift to a random ally whenever he uses any of his abilities, while no other ally has Astari's gift. Astari's gift is granted to a random ally whenever the current owner of the boon uses any ability. So basically, they get Astari's gift, they use some ability, and then it calls an ally to assist. The Astari's gift gets passed to the person who got called to assist, right? That is going to be incredible for getting stacks on the Moria bomber in Chapter 1. Just going to be very good. Obviously, the overall just 20% max health is insane amounts of health, and that's just going to be good in all parts of the raid. Basic Wizard Strike. Attack the target enemy for 190% damage and dispel one boon during You Cannot Pass. This gains the 1140% damage instead. So 1140% damage. That is massive. Dispels a boon on his basic. To me, this reads as, especially with the You Cannot Pass ability, this is a Chapter 2 ability. So imagine you've kind of maybe toppled the cave troll once or twice, or you're just looking to topple the cave troll once because you're trying to push up into a higher difficulty tier or whatever. You Cannot Pass on Gandalf. He's going to essentially be able to hit the cave troll with one big hit, kind of get you a big chunk of the cave troll down, and that's going to be massive. Obviously, dispelling boon with his basic is just big and makes sense with the cave troll. Thrandir's Light. Grant Eagle Eye for 2 turns to 3 random Fellowship squad members and 1 turn to all other squad members, and then same with Protection for 2 turns. And then during You Cannot Pass, cleanse all the Banes, and then heal all Light Squad members for 80% of this character's max health. This is the one I don't really know where we could use it, so we're going to skip that for now and come back to it. So, Astari's Gift, really good for Chapter 1. His basic is really good for Chapter 2. Let's talk about his special 2. Attack all enemies for 220% damage, inflict burning for 3 turns, which is insane, and inflict stun on target enemy for 1 turn. So this is going to be really big for both Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, I think. Just burning for 3 turns is going to chunk the cave troll down quite a bit. Inflicting stun is massive. Obviously, inflicting stun on all targets for 1 turn, that's going to be really big for the You Cannot Pass, because in Chapter 3, if you inflict stun on everybody, as well as inflict burning, you're doing a number of things. You're basically getting your team able to go another whole round, which is going to be quite a number of points, to be honest, right? So it's going to let you eke out the last remaining bit of points for Chapter 3 when you're kind of looking like things are about to end. Plus, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage, so maybe you can kind of recover a little bit, clear some captured off of yourself by killing off these people that Gandalf has done a bunch of damage to. His special 3, which puts him into that special You Cannot Pass state, cleanses Banes from himself, heals himself for 80% of this character's max health. I think this is basically just to make sure that he doesn't get taken out after he uses the skill, which would be really bad. And then on spawn, gain immunity for 1 turn, gain 1 stack of defensive per Fellowship squad member. And on death, grant haste for 2 turns to 2 random Fellowship allies and stamina. So I think this on spawn, get immunity and defensive. I think that's probably going to be important for Chapter 3, but I actually think it's also probably going to be important for Chapter 4 as well. I think the Balrog is probably going to go first and maybe do something. I'm not entirely sure, but that's kind of one idea I've had. And then obviously granting haste so that your Fellowship characters can use all their big attacks and go again pretty quickly. It's all about maximizing the end of your raid run. So let's go back to the thing I think doesn't really fit anywhere, right? His special one doesn't really seem to fit in a lot of different. I mean, yes, it's going to be good, but Eagle Eye isn't really going to be used for a lot of things right now for the raids, right? It's actually kind of annoying when you're in chapter 1, and if you have Eagle Eye on your character, you can just kill the bomber instead of putting stacks on him. I've been getting caught doing that a bunch. Granting protection, it's not defensive. So you're getting a lot of armor, you're increasing survivability, but it's not a guaranteed block like you need in chapter 3. So I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, cleansing all banes is very good, especially if for chapter 3. I think that's gonna be really big deal. So that's an option here. But I'm most curious about what this Eagle Eye and this protection is about. So if we go look to the Journey Ahead post, they kind of posted some of this concept art, right? Where the Balrog kind of has these 3 different modes here. He's got a neutral mode, a fire mode, and a shadow mode. So I'm kind of wondering if that has something to do with the Eagle Eye and protection here. And just hear me out here. This is all, again, speculation, right? Maybe the shadow mode, he's a lot harder to hit, and he has higher evasion, perhaps, and like you just guarantee that when you have Eagle Eye, which means something like a Rangers team would actually be very, very good for chapter 4, right? And then protection, maybe he is applying burning to your entire team. I mean, it's the Balrog. You expect that he's going to be able to apply burning. And maybe he's able to kind of chew through armor unless you, or not chew through armor, chew through your HP unless you've got decently high armor. And so this is kind of meant to be protect you from that. And of course, cleansing all the banes. If he's you can't stack burning, but my guess is that the Balrog is going to get some sort of special buff and debuff, just like in all the other chapters, right? Where they get special buffs and debuffs. So I'm kind of curious about, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the fire mode here. Obviously, you're going to have to go from neutral mode to fire mode to shadow mode. And I'm curious about how that transition is going to work. Probably doing some amount of damage or stacking some amount of thing, getting you into fire mode. One of these is going to be like more of an offensive mode. I'm thinking fire mode's probably going to be more of an offensive mode. But it's going to be kind of a trade-off for the Balrog, where you're going to be able to then do a lot of damage to him in fire mode as well. That's going to be pretty big. So you need a lot of survivability there just to make sure that you can take the hits while also dealing out the damage. And then shadow mode, probably going to be more of a defensive mode. And then, yes, you're going to need something like Eagle Eye, make sure he's not just evading you. I don't know. I guess it's hard in the shadows to see exactly what he's doing would be. I don't know what they're going for there, what they're angling for there. This also has sort of a similar structure to the crate raid, that kind of final phase in the crate raid. So somebody in my Discord, Dianora, brought this up actually, in that, you know, the crate dragon also has sort of this offensive and defensive, neutral and offensive and a defensive setup is the way I understand it. So you have to do a certain amount of things to get them to go into each of these phases. And it wouldn't surprise me if they have a similar type of setup here. So, you know, chapter 4 of the Mines of Moria raid, Balrog, big boss, you still want that to have many phases. You want it to feel impactful. And I really like how they're doing that with these 3 different types of modes. It also means you need to kind of change your strategy depending on the mode. And you're going to need to think about what characters you're bringing in, to, you know, depending on the mode. That's kind of where I'm at. I think basically what I've gathered from this is that this defensive mode, if it turns out to be that way in shadow mode, might require you to have Eagle Eye or do something like that, just so that you can actually hit him while he's a shadow. And then I think the protection is meant to be against the fire mode here. One team I think might actually do well outside of Rivendell and obviously the Fellowship and is the Dwarves. And again, I say this because I built the Dwarves, so maybe there's a little bit of copium in there, but basically I think that they might do pretty well in the fire mode. Basically, anytime one of the Balrog is going to do like a big AoE attack, obviously you're going to get defensive on your Dwarves with Bifur's leadership passive combination, and you're going to get might and possibly counterattack as well. And I think that's going to be pretty big. We'll see. I'm pretty excited for the chapter 4. I mean, it's great that they're releasing chapter 3 in the middle of September. That's earlier than I think a lot of people expected. That's big news, right? I'm very excited for the ends of the raid, though, because this is a fight that I'm greatly anticipating, and it looks pretty awesome. I mean, the concept art itself just looks sick. So let me know what you guys think, if you have sort of any pet theories on what you think the Balrog fight might be. I do like this kind of transition between 3 different modes. I think that makes a lot of sense in my mind. And I think I've been able to glean a little bit off of this, which makes it sort of curious what's the rest of the Fellowship team going to look like? We've got 2 Fellowship members we can slot in. That could be any of the hobbits, could be a Fellowship Boromir, Aragorn instead of Strider. Very curious about the end of that as well. I think that might be coming around Christmas now. But with that, thanks for watching. Take it easy.